If you've ever had a garden, a farm, heck, even just a few pots on a balcony, you know the feeling. It's that endless, frustrating battle against weeds. It really feels like a war you can never quite win, right? But what if? What if we've been looking at this battle all wrong? What if these so-called enemies are actually trying to tell us something important? You know, it's almost a reflex, isn't it? The second something goes wrong in the fields or in the garden, we immediately point the finger at those unwanted plants. It's just this shared experience for anyone who's ever tried to grow anything. I mean, it's a familiar script. Is the harvest a little smaller this year? Must be the weeds. Do the fruit trees look a bit stressed out? Well, the weeds are obviously stealing their nutrients. We've basically been trained to see them as the #1 culprit, the villains of the story. But here's the idea that really flips the whole thing on its head. In most cases, weeds aren't the ones starting the fire. They are the smoke. They're the very first visible sign of a deeper problem that's burning just beneath the surface. So, if they aren't the problem, what are they? Well, they're messengers. They are carrying vital information, a message sent directly from the soil itself. Just let that sink in for a second. Weed is the language of the soil. It's such a beautiful and honestly powerful way to reframe this entire situation. Weeds aren't just noise that we need to silence. They are a language we need to understand. And that's the key, right? We need a brand new definition. A weed isn't just a plant in the wrong place. We should think of it as a biological indicator. It's a living, breathing signal telling you precisely what's going on under your feet, whether that's a mineral deficiency, some empty space, or a disturbed balance in the soil. So if weeds are a language, then our job as growers and gardeners isn't to be warriors, but to become translators. We have to learn how to decode the messages these plants are sending us. And this is where it gets really interesting, because the messages can be incredibly specific. So if you're seeing those deep, tough, hard-rooted weeds, your soil is basically screaming, hey, I am compacted. It needs aeration. What about that carpet of fast-spreading surface weeds? That's a super clear signal that it's lacking organic matter. And you know there are certain weeds that just love nitrogen? They only show up in big numbers when your nitrogen levels are all out of whack. Each weed is telling a unique story. And this is exactly why just pulling or spraying weeds is a losing game. It's like turning off a fire alarm without actually putting out the fire. Yeah, you get some temporary silence, a short-term feeling of comfort, but the underlying problem, it's still there, and it's probably getting worse. You've silenced the messenger, but you haven't heard the message. This brings us to two totally different ways of thinking. The old way, we can call that weed control, and the new, more informed way, weed management. This really lays out the difference perfectly. Control is all about elimination. It's a short-term fight, just battling symptoms, and it's constantly disturbing the soil. Management, on the other hand, is about understanding. It's about building long-term balance by getting to the root causes. It's about working with knowledge, not just brute force. In fact, that constant fight, it often makes things worse. Every single time you aggressively till or spray, you're disturbing the soil's delicate biology, you're weakening its structure, and, get this, you're actually creating the perfect empty space for even more aggressive weeds to move right in. You get trapped in this endless cycle of just fighting symptoms. So, what's the new goal then? It's not a perfectly sterile, weed-free field. Let's be honest, that's an unnatural and unsustainable state. The real goal here is ecological balance. It's about managing which species are present, controlling their density, and acting at just the right time to build healthy soil that can naturally regulate weed pressure all on its own. Ultimately, this all comes down to a much bigger idea. Good farming, good gardening, it's not about fighting a war against nature. It's about learning to read it. And reading nature always requires context. Take a Mediterranean orchard, for example. An olive tree is pretty tolerant. It can handle weed competition for a long time before it shows any stress. But an almond tree, it's much more sensitive. It'll react way faster and more sharply to the very same weeds. So you see, the message of the weed has to be interpreted in relation to the whole system. So what are the big takeaways here, the mistakes to avoid? First, don't treat all weeds the same. And please don't declare every new plant an enemy. Always try to interpret what you're seeing before you destroy it. And most importantly, never ever ignore that fundamental relationship between the weed you see above ground and the soil it's growing in below. So we end right back where we began, with this one truly transformative idea. Just remember this: weed is not the enemy. It is a message. It's your guide. It's a free diagnostic tool telling you exactly what your soil needs to become healthy and balanced. So the next time you walk outside and see a weed, don't just feel that flash of frustration. Stop for a second, look a little closer, and ask yourself this question. If you actually listen carefully, you might be really surprised by what you learn.